Person's reaction to everything you do. But with a group of people, you get a lot of different reactions to the way you act and the way you behave. And so you get a much more overall picture of what you're like yourself.
But does getting to know yourself and others really well always lead to harmony? Don't disagreements sometimes arise?
Yes, they do, and sometimes disagreements take a long time to come up to the surface, but they do come up eventually because everyone knows what's going on. People talk to each other in corners for a while, and then after a time it gets so big that it blows up and comes out into the open, and it's resolved in the open with everybody there, usually.
Well, we're supposed to share work in the garden, aren't we? Let's face it, but we don't. I mean, at the present time, it usually falls on somebody's shoulder to sort of keep the whole thing ticking over out there. Otherwise, we lose half the crops that we've sown, which we have done many times,
yes.
You know.
Yes, well, we do need some sort of rules just to keep the general things going, like cooking and the animals. And with those sort of things, I think we do need some sort of rules, but not too many.
If you're intolerant, then you just don't get along. You know, you have a hard time. But the more you're here, I think the more tolerant you become of other people.
I think he's been in there anyway. That's mine.
It's a long road to Nashville, but I've been that road before. Here's hoping that she knows me when I stand outside her door. 'Cause the wind came up this evening, all the stars have gone away.
The young people you saw at the beginning of the program were from the village youth club. Peter helps here twice a week. They may get on well with the commune, but what do other villagers think?
Well, I think they're a bit suspicious of that way of life because they don't know anything about it. You know, they don't, you know, haven't heard much about it because they don't know them. But people who do know them, you know, they're pleased to know them.
Would you like to share everything yourselves?
Well, not everything. Well, some things you got are personal, you know, and you wouldn't want to share them with anybody really. Not being, you know, horrible, but you just wouldn't want to.
But they do.
Yeah, they're like that. They're much politer than us, really, and they don't mind sharing anything.
How do you think you will live when you're grown up?
Well, we'll probably, you know, have just a wife and a couple of kids and like that. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a commune like that because it's a good place.
A good place may be, but for Mona and her small daughter, not the right one.
Well, it's just that I feel pulled in different directions. I think everyone's going in a different direction, and I want to go away and find my own direction. Bye-bye, Sue.
Taking the cat with you.
I hope you like it if you come to live. I feel very sad because I do love the people here, and I'm very sad that I couldn't find any place in which to give the things that I've got to give. I don't feel there's a place for me here.
But Sue's decided to stay. Suppose one day you had the chance to try the commune way of life. How would you find it? Would you decide to leave, like Mona, or stay, like Sue?
Sun had set behind yon hill across the dreary moor. When weary and lame a lamp there came up to the farmer's door. Can you tell me where there be one that will be informed? And sow and reap and mow and be a farmer's boy, and be a farmer's boy.
For the last 4 years, an old farmhouse in Norfolk has been home for the Shrubb family, a commune of young people who live together, who try and survive on their own resources, and who quietly reject the values of the consumer society which surrounds them and to which they all once belonged.
As a housewife, I was very conscious of the way each house in the row contained a woman and a washing machine and a fridge and an electric cooker and, you know, all the things that one needs, or, you know, one thinks one needs to run a house. Some people had 2 cars, televisions, radios, and this seems so wasteful to me. We've got 1 gramophone between us and 1 washing machine, 1 van, and this is enough, you know. We share all our money. What else do we share? We share a dog and a cat and chickens, and we share our house and our land.
To live in this way demands work, hard physical work, of the kind that few of us now have to do.
Yeah, I'll dig it out and fill the hole in again in a minute. Oi.
However good or bad they may be as craftsmen, the members of Shrubb family obviously enjoy working together. Richard, who once worked as an engineering apprentice, explains why he finds this satisfying.
Obviously, to a degree, you're working for yourself, you know, because you're part of the group, but, I mean, you're always conscious of what you're doing. All the work that you're doing is pleasing other people, you know, and it's just a different attitude to work. I mean, when you're working for a boss or something, you know, your heart's not in it as much as what it is here, because this is something you really believe in.
To some extent, there's a division of labour between men and women. Val's younger daughter does what Mummy does.
It does tend to fall into the traditional roles, but much less so than a normal situation. Because, you know, I only cook a meal perhaps once every 3 or 4 days now. Everyone cooks, everyone washes up, and everyone does the washing. Everyone bakes bread occasionally. It's so much more fulfilling. You know, to bake your own bread may seem a chore to some people, but it's a beautiful thing to do.
One great strength of Shrubb family is the joy that comes from working together.
Okay, shall we all get into moving it then? Yeah, right. Do you want to help us move it? Yeah. It's a bit, take the chops out.
Obviously, not all the work they do is as much fun as towing an old governess cart around the country. To keep money coming in, all of them work from time to time on odd jobs for local farmers or tradesmen and share their income. But they're more concerned with the quality of their life than in maintaining a high standard of living. To them, it's more important to enjoy things as they happen.
What's that for? Like a spongy shape.
One of the things that does matter to them is the decline of craftsmanship.
I get increasingly more and more annoyed at finding things that with built-in obsolescence, you know. It's like a disease. 100 years ago, when they built a farm wagon, they didn't build it to last the man they made it for his lifetime. They built it to last forever. You know, they built it with the idea that it's going to last as long as they can possibly make it last. And there's so much quality in that, you know, there's so much richness in things that are built with that in mind. You know, and with houses too, they were built like that. They were built to last forever, you know. It didn't occur to them that they were going to fall apart in a year or two. You know, and I guess the argument against it is, you know, we've got to keep people in work. But, you know, I just don't think that's valid, you know. I mean, craftsmanship is a thing that's just dying out. You know, if we lose that, then, you know, we've lost a lot.
Sterling, if you can get it that far in to take the weight, I'll try and guide it out through these holes.
We bought the governor's cart at a farm sale near Wisbeach, and there weren't many horse things there, so we picked it up at a good price. And what we're going to do is do it up and sell it, and we're using the money that we make from it to put up a workshop so that we can work on carts and wagons and things like that in a better way. You know, it's a bit hard. I mean, it's very hard working without a proper place to do it in.
Yeah, I should bet you could,
Our sources of income vary considerably. Sometimes we're out doing casual work. We have done quite a lot of farm work in the harvest time. Or we do odd jobs for people. Our costs are quite minimal. I mean, we can run the whole place counting sort of rates and fuel bills. The net sort of expenditure per week would be something like £30. Without any motor transport, they would most probably cut it down to 20, 25.
Don't you ever claim Social Security? Don't you live off it?
No, we don't live off it unless we feel we really have to. We've reached a situation where we have to do it. But we would much rather steer clear of it as much as possible.
Why?
Well, I think it's basically because of the hassles, and also because you get the man coming in his car and peering through the window, actually, and sort of asking too many silly questions, which isn't just on. You know.
The Shrubb family commune own their house and an acre or so of land in common. Because of the complexities of ownership, they've had to form themselves into a limited company, and all of them are directors as long as they choose to live there. Company director Val takes the children to feed the chickens. One of the things that the group talk about rather vaguely is living in harmony with nature. The chickens, of course, are free range. The children have the rewards of gentle husbandry. They give corn to the hens, and the hens give their eggs to them.
2, 3. Lots.
Milk comes from the 2 goats which usually graze the fields of a friendly neighbouring farmer. The cycle of life is very much in evidence. Nothing is wasted, not the surplus milk for the goats' kids, not even the kids' droppings.
There's a compost with whatever, you know. We try to recycle everything from the goats and the chickens, from our own waste. Most of that goes on the compost, and the wood ash from the fire all gets put on it somewhere or other. So everything's really gone right in a complete circle.
Everybody around the table is very much aware that the food that they're about to eat comes from the earth, even though they have to depend on bulk buying for some of their largely vegetarian diet. They hold hands in silence before they eat.
It means that, you know, before you get a meal together, you're very hassled. You're running around doing all sorts of things. And you can go into food and not sort of care where it's come from or anything like that. And by holding hands together around the table, you calm right down. Well, like grace, I think, that they used to in the old days. Say grace, but we do it by just holding hands, and we don't say anything. We just sort of think whatever we want to.
Dinner time is one occasion when the whole family comes together. For most of the time they split up into little groups for work or play. But they're all very much aware of their dependence on one another, and all of them feel that they learn something from it.
I think you learn about yourself by the way people react to you. You know, you're surrounded by lots of people, and all the time, it's like everyone's a mirror, you know, and you're seeing yourself in them. And this is how you find out about yourself.